This is from his song collection called Prarthana. O Vaishnava Goswami, please be merciful to me now. There is no one except you who can purify the fallen souls. I was just hearing from Ramayana when Vibhishana came to surrender to Lord Ramchandra. He told Ramchandra's servants, you please have Ram meet me very soon. And the commentators on that passage of Ramayana say that why did he ask for him to meet soon? And the explanation is that because I'm a demon, I might change my mind. So Narottama Das Thakur says, "E baro, this time, Karuna Karo Vaishnava Gosai, please give me your mercy." Or you can say also, this life, the Vidyapati also sings very nicely, he says, Karma vipake gata gati punah punah. So many lifetimes I've wasted, squandered, so much opportunity lost without achieving the goal of life as a result of bewilderment through my own karma. So please, taraite iha bhava sindhu, take me out of this ocean of material existence now, this time. Patit pavan toma bina kehanai. There is no one except you who can purify the fallen souls. Then he explains how this is so. Where does anyone find such a merciful personality by whose mere audience all sins go away? Jahar nikate gele papa dude jai. Amon doyala prabhu keba kotha pai. Gangara parasha hoile paschate pavan. Darshane pavitra koro he tomar guna. After bathing in the waters of the sacred Ganges many times, one becomes purified. But just by sight of you, the fallen souls are purified. That is your great power. Around 1978, I remember one of my godbrothers, he's now taken sannyas, he made a comment. He had just come out of Tamal Krishna Goswami's room. And he said, to read the Srimad-Bhagavatam continuously for 3 months is not equal to spending half an hour with Tamal Krishna Goswami. So this is the idea. When Vidyavadhu Jivanam, when we associate with Vaishnavas, then they activate whatever we're hearing about in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Why is it called Bhagavat Purana? Because it's only about the Bhagavatas. Bhagavatas are those who are related to Bhagavan. Bhagavat Purana. So, he says this here, he indicates this. Etomar guna, this is your quality. Haristhane aparadhe tare harinam. If we offend the Lord, all of us have offended the Lord. You can look in the mirror and see prima facie evidence of that fact. You have a material body now. But we can be delivered by Harinam. But if someone offends a great soul, especially the spiritual master, nahi paritran, there's no remedy. There's no deliverance for him. So we have to be very careful. Tomar hridaya sada Govinda Vishram. Govinda stays in your heart all the time. Govind kohen mora Vaishnava prana. My very life is the Vaishnavas. Where does Govinda say this? Anybody know? Yes. Sadhus are in my heart, and I'm in their heart. I don't know anyone but them, they don't know anyone but me. That's right. Pratijanme kori asha charaner dhuli. Narottama is praying, birth after birth, my aspiration is to have just the dust of your lotus feet. Narottame korodoya apnara boli. Please consider Narottama Das yours and be kind upon him. When we come in front of the deity and pray, do we pray like this? Can we think like this? We generally come in front of the deity and say, "Sir, I have a problem. Can you help me?" But Narottama Das Thakur, he's giving some evidence of his own character. Okay, so let us begin with Mangalacharana. Om Jnanatimanantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada often said about Narottama Das Thakur that his songs are as good as Vedic mantras. On what basis does he say that? It's a bold claim. Whatever he writes, just like the Taittiriya Samhita for that matter says, whatever Manu says is medicine. Very strong endorsement. So Srila Prabhupada said that whatever Narottama Das Thakur has written in his songs and poetry, this is as good as Vedic mantras. He's actually paraphrasing Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In his Stavamrita Lahari, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has written one prayer, Sanskrit prayer, to Narottama Das Thakur. Narottama Dasa Prabhurashtakam. So there he says, Shri Krishna Namamrita Varsha Vaktra Chandra Prabha Dhwastatamo Bharaya Gauranga Devanucharaya Tasmai Namo Namaha Srila Narottamaya. That means I offer my respectful obeisances again and again into that godly follower of Lord Gauranga, whose face, the effulgence of whose face, moon-like face, is destroying all the darkness of ignorance while he's chanting the holy names, the nectarean holy names of Lord Krishna. He says, because ecstasy has been aroused through chanting in Sankirtana together with the devotees, he has a gentle smile on that face of his. Danta Dyuti Dyotititin Mukhaya, and the effulgence of his teeth is lighting up all directions. Shvedashrudharas napitaya tasmai, and he's bathed in perspiration as he's dancing in the kirtan. Namo Namah Srila Narottamaya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto that Narottama Das Thakur. Mridanga nada shruti matra chanchat padam bujamanda manoharaya sadhya samudyat pulakaya tasmai namo namaha Srila Narottamaya. Shri Shri Guru Garanga Bhyam Namah Shri Shri Krishna Balarama Bhyam Namah Shri Shri Lalita Vishaka Sahita Radha Shyama Sundara Bhyam Namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Narottama Das Thakur ki jai. So he says, No sooner does he hear the sound of the mridanga than his body erupts in ecstatic symptoms. And he's covered with horripilation. His lotus feet dance. Immediately, he goes into ecstasy. We've heard this from Narottama Das Thakur himself. Does he say something about this? Gauranga bolite hobe pulaka sharir. As soon as I chant the name of Gauranga. Raise your hand if you go into ecstasy and you cry, you shower everyone around you with tears when you chant the name of Gauranga. Not a single hand goes up. Actually, this happened when Srila Prabhupada was here. One of my godbrothers told me that he was standing in front of Srila Prabhupada, maybe as far as I am from Shubha Krishna, 10 feet perhaps, maximum. He said Prabhupada was in such ecstasy that water was shooting as if from a syringe out of his eyes and going that far. You can't imagine this. But this was what Narottama Das Thakur also. This is the standard thing if we're chanting without offense. But why doesn't it happen to us? Because we're offensive. This is the thing. Haristhane aparadhe tare harinam. We sung already. Our only hope is the holy name if we take the holy name under the directions of bona fide Vaishnava, like Srila Prabhupada, not from the kinds of pseudo-Vaishnavas that we heard about yesterday. So, he says, I offer my respectful obeisances again and again to Narottama Das Thakur because immediately when he hears the kirtan like this, he just has to hear the mridanga only. Does anyone know this in the beginning of when you have a formal Sankirtana performance, Padavali Kirtan, the first thing you hear is the mridanga. Only mridanga. That's traditional standard. Actually, that's Narottama Das Thakur's only invention. We can say something about that later on. He gave organization to the style of kirtan that is traditional among the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It's called Padavali Kirtan. Especially in Bengal, it's still prominent now. That's another story. But it seems in these prayers that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is concentrating on Narottama Das Thakur with regards to kirtan. So far we're hearing a description of his transcendental form, how he's experiencing ecstasy in kirtan, dancing, chanting, crying. It's all about Sankirtana. So Gandharva Gardava Kshapana Swalasya Vismapita Sheshakriti Vrajaya Swasrishtagana Prathithaya Tasmai Namo Namah Srila Narottamaya. I offer my repeated obeisances to Srila Narottama Das Thakur. His fame has spread through the songs he's written, and his dance and song indeed, and every action of his puts shame to the Gandharvas. He was very expert in chanting and dancing. Ananda Murcha Vanipat Bhadadhuli Abharalankrita Vigrahaya Yad Darshanam Bhagya Bharena Tasmai Namo Namah Srila Narottamaya. Therefore, only someone who has unlimited good fortune can witness Narottama Das Thakur, whose beautiful physical form is covered with dust as he falls to the ground in an ecstatic faint. Sthale sthale yasya kripa prapabhi krishnanya trishna janasanghatinam nirmulita eva bhavanti tasmai namo namaha srila narottamaya. I offer my repeated obeisances to Srila Narottama Das Thakur, who rains down mercy wherever he goes and causes everyone to desire nothing other than service to Krishna. Just by seeing Narottama Das Thakur or a devotee of his caliber, instantly all of your material desires are uprooted, finished. Just like that. Sadhya. We've already described this. He's already described this. Taking bath in the Ganga, after a long, long time, you may become purified in heart. That's a fact. But just by seeing a devotee of this caliber who is in this kind of ecstasy, immediately everything finished, everything material immediately becomes, well, its true significance becomes revealed. What does Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur say about this? Material desires have as much significance as the stool of a boar. Not very interested. You see? Yad bhakti nishtha palarakikeva sparsha punah sparsham aniva yasya pramanyamevam shrutivad yadiyam. Namo Namah Srila Narottamaya. I offer my repeated obeisances to Srila Narottama Das Thakur, whose commitment to devotion is like a line scratched in stone. Formerly, when they wanted something to be really recorded, pakka, then they would put it in stone. We say, have the English expression also, is to be set in stone. That means it's going to last for some time. Nowadays we have other methods of storing information, but the best thing is if you can write something in stone. There are inscriptions from over 1,000 years ago in this country. Someone had something important to say, and we value them now. They're still there because they're set in stone. It doesn't go anyway. That's called sthira, or drupad, fixed. So Narottama Das Thakur's devotion is like that. And because that's his character, his every word is as authoritative as that of the Veda. This is what we began discussing this. Pramanyamevam shrutivad yadiyam. Not just smriti, shruti. Because there are two kinds of Vedic literature. There are the 4 Vedas, including the Upanishads. That's called shruti. Swata pramanya. Self-authoritative. Nobody has written the Vedas. Vedas are eternal. Unauthored, we say. Even Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, Vedanta krid Veda Vede Vachaham. I've written Vedanta, but Vedanta is itself a commentary on the Vedas. The Vedas themselves have no author, and they're eternally authoritative. And non-different from Krishna. The highest authority are the Vedas. Sometimes we find there are people who say they only accept the 4 Vedas, Shruti. They don't accept Smriti literatures. There are different kinds of followers of Vedic literatures. Smartas are those who very strictly go by the book, but they follow Smriti. Other people say Shruti only is authoritative. Shruti means the 4 Vedas and the Upanishads. Therefore, you can understand what a strong statement it is when Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that his songs are as authoritative as the Shruti. Generally, we consider these things to be Smriti when they perfectly represent the spirit of the Shruti mantras. That's called Smriti. So this is what he says. Murateva bhakti kimayam kim esha vairagya saras tarumandriloke sambhavyate yah kritipihi sadaiva tasmai namah Srila Narottamaya. I offer my repeated obeisances to Srila Narottama Das Thakur, who appears to some as devotion personified, or as the essence of renunciation in human form. This is always considered by the wise. This is always the opinion of those who are pious. because Narottama Das Thakur was never interested in anything material. He was a lifelong brahmachari, and even though he was the son of a prince, Raja Krishna Datta, a wealthy zamindar in Rajshahi district, modern-day Bangladesh, on the banks of the Padma River, he took his birth. But he was never interested in ordinary material life, and he was always interested in Chaitanya Chandra Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya. And when he was in his youth, he had a dream in which Nityananda Prabhu came to him and said, "You will get love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu if you go to Premaghat on the bank of the Padma River early this morning. Take your bath there, and you will be blessed with prema." Meanwhile, on the other side of the river, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is loudly chanting, "Narottama, Narottama." Nobody could understand why. But he had instructed the goddess of the river, Padma Devi, that when Narottama Das Thakur comes here to bathe, you have to invest him with all of my prema. So Narottama Das Thakur came and he bathed in the river Padma. He had a darkish complexion by birth. And that day when he went to bathe in the river Padma, he immediately experienced overwhelming ecstasy, and from that point on, he was a madman for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he came out of the river with a very golden complexion, light complexion, like that of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he went home and nobody could even recognize him because he looked and acted so different. That's why he sang, a moment ago we said, Stale stale, yasya kripa prapabhihi krishnanya trishna jana samhatinam. Everywhere he went, anyone he bestowed his mercy upon, that person would lose interest in anything other than Krishna. That actually happened. It happened to himself by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, and then he distributed that for the rest of his life to whoever he saw. Jare dekhe tare kaha Krishna upadesh ityadi. He was the personification of that principle, or the personification of bhakti. That's what we're saying here. Murtaiva bhaktihi. People would see him and say, is he devotion personified? Is he the essence of Vairagya? These things are stated. So then later on he went to Vrindavan. He came to Vrindavan and he met the Goswamis, and he studied particularly under Jiva Goswami after taking initiation from his Diksha Guru, Lokanath Goswami. Lokanath Goswami didn't want to accept disciples. He didn't want to be prominent in any way. But Narottama Das Thakur became his disciple by his good fortune. His Samadhi Mandir is still here in Gokulananda Mandir, also Radha Gokulananda temple, and also his deity of Gauranga is also there in the same temple. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur finishes his composition in glorification of Narottama Das Thakur with a nice poem. He says, Rajan Mridanga Karatala Kalabhiramam. The pleasing sounds of the Karatal and the king of the Mridangas, Rajan Mridanga, the best of the Mridangas. Shrikol is the best of the Mridangas, because Mridanga, after all, it means any cylindrical drum. Dholak Mridanga bhi hai, or Bhakavaj is also Mridanga, but Rajan Mridanga. This is the instrument that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought in his Leelas. Shrikol, there's Mridanga that we play, clay drum. Actually, Mrit Anga, its body is made out of Mrit, earth. Therefore, the term Mridanga really applies to the Shrikol. Rajan Mridanga Karatala Kalabhiramam. Sometimes at the end of the Prema Dhwani, when Srila Prabhupada was saying the Jayam prayers, he would say, Shrikol and Kartal Ki. Because in the beginning of Sankirtan performances, these instruments are actually worshipped. They say that the khol in particular is an incarnation of Krishna's flute, because Krishna came to this world to enjoy in the role of his devotee and to distribute free love of Godhead to everyone. And then the flute was feeling separation. You take me everywhere with you, unless the gopis steal me. So what about now? What am I going to do? So Mahaprabhu allowed him to come in the form of this mridanga. Rajan mridanga. Therefore it's called Gauranga Gana Madhupana Bharabhiramam. And he was filled with the nectarean songs about Lord Gauranga. Srinivasa Acharya has also sung about the Goswamis in this way. Gauranga Gana Mritaihi. With the nectar of songs about Gauranga, they save us in so many ways. Shriman Narottama Padambuja Manjun Vrityam. And he's always dancing in ecstatic love of Godhead. Vrityam Kritarhayatumam Phaliteshta Krityam. Therefore, please fulfill my existence by making me one of his servants. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's prayer in glorification of Narottama Das Thakur. He's also written commentaries, actually, on Narottama Das Thakur's songs, and he's assembled at least one collection of Padavali Kirtans called Krishna-bhakti Chintamani. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was very fond of Narottama Das Thakur. So as we said, Narottama Das Thakur came to Vrindavan. He studied under Jiva Goswami, and Jiva Goswami ordered he and Shyamananda Pandit and Srinivasa Acharya to go back to east side of India and to share the wealth of the Goswami's writings with the devotees in Bengal and Orissa, in their native places. They all went. Shyamananda Prabhu went to Orissa. Srinivasa Acharya preached in Bengal, and Narottama Das Thakur went back to Bangladesh, and particularly his place we've already mentioned is called Keturi. After the departure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, maybe 50 years later, now we're 50 years or so, almost 50 years after Srila Prabhupada has left, very close. So we're looking for milestones. But at this point in time, Narottama Das Thakur, he arranged what they call the first Gaur Purnima festival in Keturi Gram, and he gave very solid organization to the style of kirtan, which was prevalent among the followers of Lord Chaitanya at that time. He assembled various traditional sources, because even North Indian classical music at that point in time was undergoing major changes in response to the Mughal presence and Islamic presence in general, Western presence. So Narottama Das Thakur more or less invented a new system of music, but on the basis of traditional models. Those who know classical music, they say that Narottama's creation was based on Drupad style of music. Drupad is what they used to sing Jaidev Goswami songs in. But now we see, anyone who's familiar knows, there's hardly any resemblance between Drupad music and Padavali Kirtan, except in a most general, abstract sense. Anyway, that's partly because what we have now as Padavali Kirtan has hardly been preserved. The same influences that changed North Indian classical music about 500-600 years ago eventually also hybridized Narottama Das Thakur's Padavali Kirtan. It was invented at Keturi Gram at that festival, and because Mridanga is so important in Kirtan, he had particularly invited a very famous expert Mridanga player, Devi Dasa, to come there at that time. So that was called Garanhati Kirtan, and that's the original style. But in due course of time, it kind of branched into different styles, sub-styles. Mandanani, Jharkhandi, Raineti, Manohar Shai, according to the different places in which devotees practice that mode of kirtan. And nowadays, everything is practically, so many of these styles are lost. Theoretically, we understand 2 or 3 of them, but practically everything is hybridized again. So now in ISKCON we have, Prabhupada was singing himself, simple Garanhati Kirtan, but who sings like Srila Prabhupada? We have so many other influences, Bollywood influences, Western music influence, so many influences. Musically, this is the thing. But music is not the most important aspect of the kirtan, Padavali Kirtan. Some scholars have said that that's why classical music could never really hold in Padavali Kirtan. Why? Because the words are more important. That's one thing that Padavali Kirtan has in common with Drupad. In classical Drupad music, the words are all important. And in Padavali Kirtan also the words are most important. But there are two branches of Padavali Kirtan. One is Nama Kirtan, that's what we do. Most of the time that's what we're singing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then there's Lila Kirtan or Pala Kirtan or Rasa Kirtan, it goes by different names, which is more dramatic and deals mainly with literature. One can hardly be an expert in Padavali Kirtan without knowing the entire ocean of Gaudiya Vaishnava poetry in Bengali, as well as Sanskrit. And it has its characteristic symptoms, that's technical matter. But the focus on the words is all important, because in Padavali Kirtan they'll take a song and they'll find out what is its rasa, and then they'll quote from so many other songs to emphasize the rasa, with even one line. And then they'll go on to the next line and do it again. And in this way, those who understand the language, it's completely locked up in the language. It becomes a very powerful experience, because you take two things that are very powerful. You take sahitya, literature, and music, sangeet, and you fuse them together, and they're much more powerful. That's why the word sangeet itself doesn't just mean music. We use it in that sense. But it actually means the combination of instrumental music, dance, drama. And that includes song music as well. Because the rasa is much higher. If we want to convey rasa, this is the appropriate tool. So for 400 or 500 years, at least in East India, this was the primary tool of preaching. Still, now in Bangladesh, Bengal, and other places on that side, because it's locked up in the language, people are moved by it. But Nama Kirtan is for everyone, and Srila Prabhupada emphasized that. Nama Kirtan, Hare Krishna Mahamantra especially. Now, one of Narottama Das Thakur's innovations was that in the beginning of the Kirtan performance, we have to glorify Gauranga. That's called Gaura Chandrika. We don't sing anything other than Lord Chaitanya's glorification in the beginning. So Srila Prabhupada has also made this stipulation for Kirtan, Nama Kirtan, within ISKCON. First we sing Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Then we sing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is a very important principle. It's written in Srila Prabhupada's books. Sometimes I go all over the world and see people doing kirtan everywhere. They just immediately go into Hare Krishna Kirtan from scratch. There's no mention of Srila Prabhupada. There's no mention of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just Hare Krishna Kirtan, and that is 100% wrong. We know that things are right or wrong by whether they're in Shastra. Narottama Das Thakur himself has taught us, Guru Sadhu Shastra Bhakko Chitete Koriya Aika. Do you know this? We sing every day, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Koriya Aikya, because that's really what it comes down to practically. But actually, the real pramana is Guru Sadhu Shastra. It has to be in Shastra. That Shastra has to be interpreted by Parampara, and a Guru means somebody who's representing both. Without that, it's bogus. And we don't find any such injunction that immediately only chanting Hare Krishna. You have to glorify Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, in Chaitanya Charitamrita again, Srila Prabhupada writes, 3 things have to go on in every center of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness when they do kirtan. The first one is we chant Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Second thing, we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Third thing is we chant Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. This song was given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly. And Srila Prabhupada gives that instruction. So, in this way, simple way, a pedestrian way, suitable for everyone in the world, even those who don't know Bengali and haven't mastered the entire ocean of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sahitya, we can inherit the creation of Narottama Das Thakur. And if we do so in the traditional style of Padavali Kirtan also, that is a very good thing. Srila Prabhupada said, if you learn this style, you'll be able to attract so many people. Srila Prabhupada gave many instructions in the early days to the devotees about how to perform kirtan. You can read them. I won't go into great detail because we're already running out of time. I had planned actually to speak on a few songs of Narottama Das Thakur, but we're already running out of time, and there are so many. We only sang one in the beginning. But the great qualification of this songbook, BBT Songs of the Vaishnava Acharyas, is that this book assembles all the songs of Narottama Das Thakur and other acharyas, chiefly Bhaktivedanta, that were very much favorite of Srila Prabhupada. And we find that there's a characteristic, there's a common denominator among all these songs. There's one characteristic that they all share, and that is that they deal with concerns of devotees who are on our stage of advancement for the most part, struggling to acquire sambandha gyan, because without sambandha gyan, you cannot chant without offense. That's why we have to learn so many things from the Shastra. That's why we have to read Srila Prabhupada's books. A few days ago, I was in Hyderabad. I was doing a program. So many, mostly disciples of Radhanath Swami, I think, working in the IT sector. And they had some satsanga that they came to once a week, because in India it's very hard in big cities to visit a temple too much. Although it is possible. So they get together like this. So I asked them, how many people read Bhagavad-gita every day? There were maybe 50 people in the room, and 1.5 person raised their hand. Because one person raised their hand like this, and the other person went like this. Was afraid. Okay, so noted. At some point later on in the lecture, I asked, how many people read the newspaper every day? Almost everyone in the room raised their hand. You see? This is not good. It is what Srila Prabhupada criticized 40 or 50 years ago. And it's even worse now. I've seen it, frankly, because I've been watching for that many years. It's getting worse. And we have to do something about that. It means we have to read Prabhupada's books every day. Otherwise, we don't know what the standard is, because we're not hearing. Obviously, our priority is not the same as that of Narottama Das Thakur, who said, Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya Chite Te Koriya Aikya. What does it mean? Or do you mean it when you sing it? It means I only want this thing in my heart, whatever is coming out of his mouth. That's what he's saying, you see? So, Guru Sadha Shastra Vakya Chite Te Koriya Aikya. This is how we tell. Okay, so I guess we're out of time, but I should at least read one song. This is, by some accounts, Srila Prabhupada's favorite song. Hari Hari Bifale Janamo Gaino. We see the spirit that Srila Prabhupada was trying to instill in us in these songs that he personally sang, just to set the example for us. So here Narottama Das Thakur takes the place of a conditioned soul like us, And he says, Hari, I've spent my life uselessly. I've obtained a rare human birth, but I've not worshipped Radha Krishna, and in this way I've knowingly drunk poison. Because nothing in this world will elevate you. Everything will poison you. Everything. Unless it's given to Krishna. So he's lamenting like this. Goloker premadhana harinama sankirtana ratina janmilo keneptai. Why didn't I get any real love for this gift of Goloka Vrindavan? Love of Godhead, prema, in the form of Harinam Sankirtana. Sangsara bishanale, dibanishi hiat jwale. Day and night I'm burning because this samsara is like a blazing fire of material existence. That we've also heard from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Juraiti nakaino upai. I've not taken any means to remedy this situation. Brajendranandan je shachishuta hoiloshe Balaram hoilonitai. The son of King Nanda has come in the form of Shachisuta, and Balaram has come as Nitai. Dina hinat jata chilo harinama uddharilo tara sakhi jagai madhai. They're delivering people who are fallen, people who are poor, people who are suffering in so many ways through Harinam. And the witness to this is Jagai Madhai. We're all like Jagai Madhai, or at least we're recovering Jagais and Madhais, hopefully. So we're all testimony. Srila Prabhupada said, 500 years ago there were 2 Jagais and Madhais, now they're everywhere. They're in Delhi, some of them are even in Vrindavan. There's so many nonsense things go on. Ha ha Prabhu Nanda Sutta, Vrishabhanu Sutta Juta, Korona Koroho Ei Bar. Again, he says, this time. You have to take me this time. Give me mercy this time, dear Nanda Sutta, and along with Vrishabhanu Sutta, daughter of Vrishabhanu, Narottama Dasa Kai Nakheliho Rangapai. Toma bine kya chhe amar. Don't push me away from your lotus feet. Without you, there's nothing else. Nothing else is mine without you. So please, this time show me mercy. It would be nice. Anyway, those later on we will go to Brajamohan, one of the 6 deities that Narottama Das Thakur installed at Ketari in his Mahotsava that we've already described. That deity has come to Vrindavan some time ago. Brajamohan, near Gyan Gudri, and Dinabandhu Prabhu and others will take a party there. And we can sing some more songs of Narottama Das Thakur there. But just a couple of we've done here. Does anybody have any questions or any comments about anything that we've discussed?
When we sing Aaratis, we don't sing first Sri Krishna Prabhu. We start off with Sansara Davanala or Bhakti. Is it okay?
When we sing in Aaratis, we don't begin with Sri Krishna Chaitanya, we begin with our spiritual master. Well, that's kind of a no-brainer. Because by whose grace do you know anything about Sri Krishna Chaitanya?
No, I mean to clarify that how to apply this principle of chanting Sri Krishna Prabhu Nityananda before the chanting of. So only before chanting of Hare Krishna mantra or anything we start?
In general, it's a good idea. He's asking, do we preface only Hare Krishna Kirtan with glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or any Kirtan? In general, I would say it's a good idea to glorify Lord Chaitanya first anytime. But you can't really do that without the mercy of the spiritual master. Therefore, we sing Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Ityadi. You see? Then we sing at least a song in glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's also Gaura Chandrika. You see? And for Nama Kirtan, Srila Prabhupada called this the Panchatattva Mahamantra. Mahamantra he called it, but for Panchatattva. So for Hare Krishna Kirtan, certainly should be prefaced with Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara, Shivas, Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Anything else? Yes.
What is the difference between Bhaktivedanta Thakur songs and Narottama Das Thakur songs?
What is the difference between Bhaktivedanta Thakur songs and Narottama Das Thakur songs? One is more recent and one is less recent. Otherwise there's no difference that I can see. That's why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur worked very, very hard to popularize Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs. They were not popular more than 100 years ago. Well, they weren't written more than 100 years ago. But who has the onus of popularizing a great Vaishnava? The disciples. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati did that. Bhaktivinoda was very widely respected, but his literature was not very widely known. So he published it, just to make sure. Now it's worldwide by Krishna's grace, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is within Krishna's heart. You see? But there's no difference. They're all equally, Srila Prabhupada said, these songs are all equally authoritative. Bona fide Vaishnavas. And there are others. Govinda Das, Kaviraj, others. Vidyapati I mentioned also. So many. But these are Srila Prabhupada's favorite songs. We should sing these. When I first joined ISKCON, we used to sing these in the temple regularly, almost daily. I don't see that so much anymore. But it's a good culture to establish. Okay? Yes?
Is there any difference between Radha and Rukmani, or both are the same identity?
Is there any difference between Radha and Rukmani? Okay, well,
Same identity.
there's a difference and there's no difference at the same time. But that's kind of off the topic, so we can discuss this after the class. Any other questions on this? Narottama Das Thakur? If not, then we'll stop here. You'll hear about Narottama Das Thakur all day long, hopefully. And we can take shelter with the lotus feet today. You had one to add?
What was the central point about the success of Narottama Das Thakur in Khechari festival, so that it could not be replicated even now?
Yeah. Narottama Das Thakur is most famous all over Bengal, all over East India, Gaudiya Vaishnavas. His name is synonymous with kirtan. That's true. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.